The Icons of Real Estate podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters at Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Patty Teal. Today's top realtor and icon is Marti Hampton of eXp. We're so happy to have her here. Let me tell you a little bit about Marti. Throughout her long career, she has accrued numerous recognitions as the #1 RE/MAX team in the US and the #3 RE/MAX team in the entire world, and has received multiple Diamond Club awards and continuous ranking as a top agent in the US. She has been listed as one of the most powerful women in real estate in the National Relocation and Real Estate magazine, and has been a finalist for Inman's Innovator of the Year Award for her international Coming Soon. And after being ranked the #1 at RE/MAX from 2014 to 2019, Marti is taking on a fresh new challenge to be the #1 amongst other innovative, game-changing agents and teams at eXp Realty. Welcome, Marti.
Thank you, Patty. Quite an intro there.
Well, it was quite an intro with some great accolades that you've achieved, for sure.
Thank you.
So, Marti, what we usually do on the show is start by asking you about your journey. How did you get into real estate in the first place? And how did you end up where you are today, highly successful at eXp?
Well, it certainly wasn't always that way. I actually came from very humble beginnings. I won't tell you the poor stories. They might rival some third world countries. They really would. I came from poverty, and unfortunately, I married early, very early, in my teens, and that marriage didn't work. So by the time I was 23, 24 years old, I had 3 children under the age of 5, and I was single. And of course, I didn't have a sphere of influence. I didn't have family backing. I was quite alone. And so I realized to myself I was going to have to get a meager job, just barely making it. So I said to myself, what can I do that will really help me raise these children without the poverty that I've experienced? What can I do that will give them a start? A financial start, send them to college, buy them cars, buy them bracelets, all the things that children need when you're raising up. And real estate came to mind when I was in my 20s. So I made a decision to get my real estate license. And I got my real estate license. I studied really hard, and I got into real estate. And I would have to say that I had some pretty fair, quick success in real estate. I was adapted to it easily. I worked hard. I never met a stranger. I could always talk to people about real estate, and it interested me. And so from there, I actually dropped out of real estate because I got burned out. And I think real estate is a really easy business to get burned out in. Actually, interesting statistic, Patty. Less than 4% of the people that are in real estate got into real estate as their first career.
Wow, that is fascinating.
And so many of them are from another career, but to me, in my 20s, it's the only option that I have that won't have a ceiling on what I can earn. I can actually earn according to my work ethic. And so I got into real estate. I did drop out for a while because I got completely burned out of this business. The phone rang all the time. I had 3 little kids. It was really hard to juggle when you're by yourself. But then again, I moved and found myself in a new city here in North Carolina, in the Raleigh area, and no family, no support. I said, what am I going to do? So I got back into real estate with a mission to really do a great job. And I did that. I got into real estate with a small company, one name man that owned probably just a small company. And then I moved to a bigger company. It moved to Prudential. and stayed with them until 1996 when I moved to Remax. And by the time I was at Prudential, I was already starting a team and had an assistant, which was quite unknown at that point in time. Most people were just individual agents that were kind of working by themselves. Started the team very, very early on. And it evolved into, the big deal with Remax. Remax was a great company. It was the greatest choice at that particular time. And I did really well with them. I actually ended up buying a commercial building, 11,000 square feet of commercial. I recruited other teams. And so we were a very team-friendly Remax office. And then before COVID, I started to think about, the generational aspect. I have 2 children in the business with me. And I said, well, at some point in time, you have to slow down. It's not that you want to slow down. It's just it takes you down. So what would be a good option for a generational business? And so that's when I looked at eXp. And honestly, that's when I made the intellectual, with my mind, a decision that this was the right way to go for me and for my business. And then I'd say later on in that journey, I want to say a year, I actually decided in my heart, this is really much better for agents and much better.
Oh my gosh, what a wonderful story. It's really very inspirational that you chose real estate and were able to pull yourself out of poverty, not once, but twice, it sounds like. So good for you. And that you've now found a way to get your kids involved and they'll be set as well. I really admire that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So tell me the advantages of eXp. For some people who are listening, maybe eXp agents, and some may not know much about it at all. They may have heard of it. Of course, everybody has. It's growing very quickly, but they may not understand the setup. So can you explain the advantages of eXp?
I will. I'll try to. It's really difficult because it took me a long time to understand it. It's not a franchise that you buy. And of course, I owned a franchise when I owned Remax One Realty. I owned that franchise for over 20 years. And it was always in the top 10 companies in my area, which is a large area. But eXp is not a franchise. So the first thing that I noticed about eXp is that it did something that no other real estate company had solved before that point in time. As a small business owner, of course, I employed agents and support team. And I was able to give that support team an advantage of health insurance. I paid for half of health insurance for my team. And that was a red letter day as a small business owner because you want talent to come and work for you. And that's really so important, to get talented agents and talented support people to really excel in the service to their buyers and sellers. And so I noticed that eXp had healthcare, and I had worked for the biggest company, one of the biggest companies in America, and I'd never been offered healthcare before.
Wow.
So so I switched over to the eXp healthcare, and some of my agents, actually, my son actually saved $400 a month.
Wow, that's amazing.
On his healthcare bill. So it's quite a product like you would get if you went to work for Google or if you went to work for Apple or IBM. It's an executive package of health insurance. That's the first thing that attracted me to eXp.
Yeah. And then I know you mentioned when we talked through correspondence that they offer training and stock and growth for agents. So could you address that as well?
I will. I worked for a public company. Remax went public during the time that I worked for Remax. But none of the agents, or I might add, none of the broker owners were ever given any stock in that company. And so even if you don't get involved in recruiting or don't do anything except make your sales numbers, you're going to get stock from the company. And it was a wonderful advantage. In other words, when you work for eXp, there's going to be a very different result in 5 years than if you work for a different company. Because if you work for a different company, there will be no additional funds that you get from that company. You won't have any ownership in that company. And with eXp, depending on your work ethic, depending on your ability to lead people, you can have quite a big residual income from recruiting agents, but you can also have a big income from stock, which they allow you to buy at a 5% discount. Now, that's in addition to the stock that they're going to give you for making your sales numbers. In other words, making your cap. Every single year when you make your cap, you get, I believe it's $400 worth of stock. And it sounds like a small amount. It is a small amount, but over the years, it builds up. And then you have advantage to buy that stock at a 10% discount, which is a long-term play, and you don't have to do it. But it's another stream of income that an agent can have. And you know, what I've seen, Patty, over almost 40 years in real estate is way too many agents retire broke. They were great agents. They sold a lot of real estate, but yet when they retired, they had to either keep selling or they were broke.
Right. So it's built into the structure that you'll continue to either get stock money, or you can have people work under you too. Can you explain how that works?
Well, that's part of recruiting. And honestly, that's a scary part, to be honest with you, because not everybody's a leader. Not everybody's a recruiter. There's only about, I'd say only 10 to 12% of people that are members of eXp or that are agents with eXp take time to recruit.
Okay.
So that's something that you have to build up the confidence for. You have to really feel it in your heart that this is the right thing for other agents. And of course, I really feel it in my heart because I've got about 35 years worth of experience of seeing how real estate companies operate. It's funny. I was just talking to somebody this morning and they were talking about Glenn Sanford, who started eXp, and they were going to be in Seattle, Washington. And they called him up and asked him if he would have coffee with them. And what he said was, you know, I've got this other company over at my house all week. Why don't you come over here? There's not a wall between the owner of eXp and the agents. At the other big companies that I worked for, there was always a wall. You were going to be there. You were never going to talk casually with the owner. So
I'm only laughing because I've been in that position before, and you're supposed to report to the person that's one step above you instead of going to the higher up, because that's just not the way it's done. So that's very refreshing. Exactly. And the collaboration is very refreshing. And I give credit to probably the next generation, you know, the millennials that have really formed the team idea and taken that to a different level. You know, the old school real estate was, I'm going to keep my secrets close to my chest, and I'm not going to share what I do that really makes a difference in my business. So I'll keep that with me, and you have to go out and find on your own. With eXp, I open my playbook. I'll tell you everything that I know about this industry. You go on my shoulders, you learn what I know, and you're going to go higher because you're going to go to work on my shoulders. Oh, that's so beautiful. The better I do, the better you do. That's really, really nice. So it sounds like you have no regrets for going with eXp. No, it was the right decision. I get more and more sold on this company every single day. I believe at some point when you work long enough and hard enough, you start looking for residual income. And I believe eXp is a fantastic option for you if you are a leader, if you have the confidence in yourself to do that. Thank you for sharing that. So also you mentioned in our correspondence something about your coming soon homes that you developed. Can you talk a little bit about that? Coming Soon Homes is a national website. And I've always believed that the strongest agreement that we have with our clients or our seller clients, and it's actually a listing agreement. And so when a client entrusts you with the benefit of projecting their house before the market, you better do a good job with it, because that's your most important job as far as I'm concerned. It's a big responsibility. So what I saw people that were just slamming houses on the market without any forethought of, how am I going to market this house? How am I going to get the market excited about this house before I actually opened the doors? And that's when I started doing Coming Soon Homes in 2007, I believe. And it really, Patty, it's like going to,
hear about a new movie that's coming out. Maybe it's Top Gun or something else. And so the movie's not in the theaters yet, but you're hearing about it maybe 2 months and ahead of time before it actually opens in the theaters. So it gives you a time to build up the momentum, to start some fire, some interest, some curiosity. And everybody that's really a pro in real estate understands that just the first few days you have, sometimes the first few hours, at the longest, the first few weeks are the most critical time when you're marketing a home.
Mhm.
So you don't put a house on the market on the 4th of July. You would do a disservice to your seller if you did that.
Right.
Think about it. There has to be thought about it. Actually, we just took over a listing of somebody that did put a house on July.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Vacation month, big no-no in our market, and every market's different. But the coming soon homes is actually a build-up to when we open the curtains. We show little snippets, like you can see a movie trailer where you show all the parts. You actually show the best parts of the house. And
that's very interesting.
yeah. So
Yeah. I'm going to
good.
start searching it too. I didn't know it was a national site because I don't know where I want to end up here in Florida. So I want to look at different areas. So I'm going to be checking out those coming soon listings.
Check out North Carolina.
Okay. Okay. So along those lines, one of the best parts of my job, besides talking for delightful, inspirational people like you, is to hear about these different areas. And I have never been to Raleigh, North Carolina. So for a newbie like myself, can you describe it? I know it's a big city with probably lots of neighborhoods, but what's the charm?
The charm is, let's start with green. Lots of other areas of the country, you're not going to see as many trees. You're not going to see as much green as we have. It's the Piedmont in North Carolina. But the Triangle section actually holds Raleigh real estate, Cary real estate, up to 7 counties. It's the largest county in North Carolina, and we also service counties around this county. So it's a very large area, well over 1 million people now. We've got tremendous relocation here through big companies like Apple, like Google. So we've got Research Triangle Park. We've got 5 major universities.
Wow.
The best thing about the Triangle real estate, if you live in Raleigh, North Carolina, is that you can go 2.5 hours to the beach and you can go 3 hours to the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got weekend getaways anytime you want to get away.
Wow. That's something to make it a very favorable place to want to live, to be able to go to either the mountains or the beach. Thank you for sharing that. And what is the average home price, the median house price in your area?
The average home price is probably just under $500,000. It's gone up quite a bit during this rise in the market, and but you can still get moderately priced, even lower prices homes than that in the surrounding counties. So the spread of the surrounding areas has given us some land prices that were a little bit lower, and so builders could come in and build houses that were moderately priced. Say, I'm going to say $300,000 to $400,000.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still get a home in that price range, which I think is a unique part of our area.
It is. I always feel bad when you can't get in to a house for under $1 million in certain cities or even more. It's like, how do the new home buyers ever get started in an area like that? It's very, very difficult. Yeah. So there's so much I want to ask you. What do you feel, Marti, is your strength? I mean, you have so many, obviously. You've overcome so much. You're so positive. You obviously are a leader, but what do you feel is your strength?
I think the persistence to go on in the face of discouragement. I'm very persistent. I think the ability to do things that I don't particularly like to do because they need to be done.
Oh, right.
And that comes from the responsibility of being the head of a household, owning a business. Those are things that I don't think you get unless you're in a place, head of household, the owner of a business. You've got to pay a payroll. You've got to take those children to the doctor. They've got to have those braces. They've got to go to college. I just think that's part of the responsibility to work ethic. I'd say work ethic.
Oh, work ethic. Well, that's a very good thing, and not to procrastinate, to be able to force yourself to do those unpleasant tasks. But it sounds like most of them are
Things you don't
pleasant.
want. Right, that's right.
Yeah. And obviously, your success is massive. I mean, the introduction that I read was so very impressive. But I guess you still wouldn't be working if you didn't have goals. So, what are your real estate goals?
You know, one of my real estate goals is kind of fluffy, and that is to help the next generation. Honestly, I really believe, Patty, that real estate is not quite the same opportunity as it was when I first got into real estate.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
I believe that because I think there are forces, and you know, business is business.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be big business trying to snuff out small business, and that's just part of it.
Right.
So I think there's big tech and big money that have changed the opportunity for an agent that wants to really excel at their career. And let's just face it, everybody doesn't want to really excel. They don't want to take real estate to the highest level that they can take it. They just don't. Maybe they have a spouse that's working, so they just want to use that as a part-time income.
Well, sure. Mm-hmm.
So they don't have that need.
Mm-hmm.
But ones that have the need, like I needed an opportunity. And I don't think that it's the same because of the big forces in real estate, like I said, big tech and big money, have taken some of the opportunity away from the smaller agents when they're getting into the business. So it's really a little bit more difficult now than it used to be to really excel at this business, and not to just excel to have some great sales year after year after year, but to build a business, whether it's an business. And really when I look at for eXp and other entities that I belong to, is kind of almost like a union for people who didn't come from wealth, from people who had to start from scratch. I think of it as a blue collar union for people who really have a desire to take this real estate and to develop a team, to develop a business that's a great income for them and for their family, and to invest that in things where they'll have some residual income. So I think eXp fulfills that list of requirements as the greatest opportunity that's out there right now.
Wow, that is absolutely wonderful. I need to read more about it myself. Now, I want to ask you, you said big tech makes it harder. Is it because they're swooping in and buying up properties and have the cash to do that?
Yeah, there's a lot of investment purchases. I actually just talked to a friend of mine that's in another city in North Carolina, and he was telling me about one investment company that had bought 3,500 homes in the last 2 years, 3,500. Now, we've had investors buy many, many more homes than that because we're a larger area than that particular city. But that cannot last. I mean, just like the escalation on price in real estate we're seeing it's not sustainable. So something will change. And I think the thing that will change has to do with the opportunity that big tech is trying to crush out for the smaller agents. And they do that, of course, by having massive internet clout. Massive. So those are the things that I'm concerned about. And those are the reasons that I think eXp is a great antidote to the crushing effect that those things have on an individual agent that's trying to really grow their business, maybe as a team, maybe as an individual company.
Well, that's a great explanation, and it really helps me to understand why you think of them as a union for people, because together you're very, very strong.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I'm winding back around to when you said you were burned out, and obviously you're not burned out now. Oh, what advice can you give to newer agents so that they don't go through that burnout?
You know, people talk about balance a lot. I hear a lot of people, I want to have a balanced life. Well, when you're a single parent, there is no such thing as a balanced life. So I never really had that option.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. Sounds very romantic.
It does sound good, doesn't it?
It would be very enjoyable, but
Uh-huh.
it's just literally impossible. And a lot of people in real estate, me included, will take a call for their business while they're on vacation. And
Mhm.
the very old saying in real estate, the only break you can get is when you go out of town. And that's true for many people. And like I said, I, among many other agents, will take a telephone call from a client when we are out of town and supposed to be on a vacation. So maybe we should get on a cruise ship that doesn't have any cell service, so that nobody.
Oh, you thought about this, haven't you, Marty?
I've never been on a cruise.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah. I've
No,
only been on
we have
one.
a boat.
Mhm.
Enjoy being on that boat, but we still get cell reception. Unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, you need to get way out there in the middle of the ocean with no cell service, that's for sure.
I know.
Yeah. So if people are listening and they really want to get in touch with you, how would they find you?
Well, they can Google me, Marti
Mhm.
Hampton with an I. Marti at martihampton.com is my personal email. I'd love to help anybody that's really serious about their career, whether they want to do it individually as a sole proprietor or whether if they want to start their own team. I can definitely help them with those missions, those goals.
That's so nice of you to be so successful, but really having this goal to give back to people. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for being our icon on Icons of Real Estate. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.